Welcome to Retro Spectacles. I am Mitch Marzoni, and with me, as always, a man who only a week ago finally experienced his first Guar show, Mr. Teddy Tutson. How are you, sir?
Oh man, I'm finally clear and free of all of the fluids spilled across the arena by the Guar. Truly amazing show. It was one of the greatest experiences I have seen watching Mitch, as I told him. Truly, I've never seen someone in actual nirvana, in the state, pure bliss, a man experiencing joy untoldeth on this mortal coil. Amazing. Thank you for the gift of letting me see you as you were meant to be seen. You got a friend in me, Randy Newman. Let's get it. You didn't think it was coming. Watch the left hit come to right.
He always finds a way to bring it back around. I figured no matter what I say in my intro, Teddy will run with it. But I did not foresee a Randy Newman drop.
We ready.
Nicely teed up for what is our inaugural episode of our very inaugural franchise deep dive.
Everything's inaugural. We on episode 7. It's all inaugural.
Yes.
It's like when they've been like, wow, this is the greatest performance in league history. Your league is 2 years old, son. What we talking about, right? But no, we ready. Fair. We ready to get it. We all here in anticipation of the Toy Story 5 June release. And now we talked about this, right? We got the Retro Spectacles addendum, if you will, amendment of being able to discuss, view a film if it is a part of, franchise being released, and we going back and we taking a look. And what better way to kick in that element of the show than with the animated classic that just tap dances all on your heartstrings at every generational stop. Maybe. We'll see if Mitch feels things.
So my first two thoughts when I sat down, I guess 3 thoughts when I sat down to watch it, was it last night? It was either last night or Friday night, was, oh shit, finally a short movie. Like hour 25.
Hour
like,
20.
Yeah.
I had a similar thought as well when I looked at it. I was like, damn, Pixar, y'all was moving real efficient in 95.
Yeah. They were like, listen, every minute costs us $20 million. So.
Not a frame to waste. Not a server can be squandered.
No, sir. The next thing I noticed when I actually went to find it on the Disney app, because one of my things is I kind of hate searching. I kind of want to browse,
just put it in front of me.
Well, I'm kind of like, let me see the context. Like, how important is this to your app? And Disney's like, oh, it's so important. It's a category.
Oh, the Toy Story category. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a category on the app.
Yeah.
Which I was like, yeah, fair enough. They're like, we did 15 TV shows and 3 direct-to-video movies, and there's an option.
We got a lot.
Here.
We got a lot of IP for you, Mitch.
We have several screensavers for you to choose from.
Would you like to make Woody or Buzz or T-Rex or Bo Peep your avatar for your Disney Plus adventures?
Yeah,
we can cater to you.
And then I realized about maybe like 5 minutes into watching the movie, I've never actually just sat and watched this movie from start to finish.
You me when we've been through all these. I've been getting the dibs and dabs of pieces and dribs on TNT and CBS. That's how you was living watching Toy Story. Okay, all right.
And so I wrote down Toy Story was the official soundtrack of I Need to Distract the Kid While I Do My Thing amongst everybody I knew who had kids. Family, friends, you name it. If I went to their house and we were like going to have a business meeting or a conversation or catch up on things, in the background, Toy Story was happening.
Now, what era of this in the timeline? This is clearly not 1995. This was not immediately at the palm release, right? This is as life went on.
No.
It wasn't in business meetings in 95.
It came out in November of 95.
Right.
Then it hit the VHS market, and it was apparently the biggest. It sold 21 million copies on VHS.
Talk about moving units, son.
Within a year of its release, 21.5 million
Right.
I mean, so it was like staple. If you had a human under 12 in your home, you had a Toy Story VHS. And then, of course, Toy Story 2 greenlit pretty shortly thereafter. It came out in 1999. We'll get to that one in it later. And to be fair, I can't definitively tell you which of the Toy Stories was always on.
You just knew Buzz and Woody and the gang was in the background all the time.
Yeah.
Forever.
And when I was looking this up, because I was like, surely this had to be a huge DVD release. But to your point, 1995. No, the first DVD release was a double package, Toy Story 2. And I'm like, now that's smart. Because parents don't give a shit. They were like,
no.
I need a movie I can put on without having to rewind anything. And also, I don't give a shit which one it is. This kid doesn't know which one it is. They see their favorite characters on screen doing something that's enough for mama. I'm going to go. I got shit to do. So those are my like initial before I even got started. But go ahead.
That's fair. I was going to say, in terms of Toy Story, because you were talking about just printing money, right? I think if you look at calendar year gross 95, you're talking about coming out right before Thanksgiving. Toy Story does so well, it's number 3 for the year, right? You look at the lifetime domestic gross adjustments for movies released in 95, Toy Story's number 1. All right, but I think the fact that if it 95, right, with 99 I think was the year that we always sort of has cemented as Mitch's year at the box office, but 95
my year
it's your. I mean, you were talking about 99 year episode 1, son. You was out here while we wasted time in fucking 86 or whatever the fuck we was in.
Yeah.
Toy Story is coming on the heels of Batman Forever in June, right? Mm-hmm. Batman Forever crushing Jurassic Park's all-time record. Everybody was like, "Oh shit, Batman money!" Until who walked in the building, son? Pixar, Woody, Buzz, Andy, the alien guys, everybody in the gang. You know what I'm saying?
Sneaky Dog.
Etch a sketch.
Potato Head.
Sneaky Dog. Ham. You know what I mean? Everybody. But other films, 95. Obviously, Toy Story, Batman Forever at the top. We had our friend Apollo 13, Tom Hanks, doing it again. Pocahontas.
Tom was buying new mansions in 95.
This is when you want to talk about somebody at their apex. Tom Hanks saying, I will take the existential angst of launching an entire animated kingdom genre. Animation
that's not where
style.
I thought you were going when you said launch, given the Apollo. I was like, oh, he said launch. He's talking about the Apollo movie. No.
I was. No. Pixar, we don't have a problem. Pocahontas. So we got Disney in the mix as well there. Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. We got a James Bond, GoldenEye.
The sequel, yeah.
Yeah. Now, a bit of a carryover, which is kind of how Toy Story was in 96, to your point here. Pulp Fiction. Still printing money in 95. And then we round out with Casper, Jumanji, and Die Hard with a Vengeance. That's your box office in 99. People were loving Die Hard with a Vengeance.
99? You mean 95? You just said
95. Excuse me.
Yeah. All good.
I got
all
90,
good.
I got 99.
See, you got 99 fever as well, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Plus a lot of other stuff that wasn't necessarily box office, 7, Usual Suspects, things of that nature. A lot of stuff popping at the box office in
absolutely.
In 95. But where shall we begin in Toy Story 1? Which I guess you don't call it Toy Story 1. It's just Toy Story.
Yeah.
You with the lack of familiarity, because I was telling you, I was like, oh, how much have you seen Toy Story? How much do you know? How much that nostalgia going to sneak up on you and just put you in a stranglehold? Do you know toys? Do you like toys?
One of my my local watering hole has 2 TV VCR combos sitting on the behind the bar. And then they have a VHS collection, and it's kind of fun when you go in there and they're between VHSs, and they were like, all right, what do we put on next? And people start shouting different titles and stuff like that. And there's certain ones that just are always fine to put in there because you don't necessarily need to pay attention to the dialogue or anything. You're just like, oh, I love watching this scene, so on and so forth. And Toy Story is a very common one to throw in there. Everybody knows it. You don't really need to be invested in every word.
Comfort food at the comfort bar.
because it's such a visual storytelling of a movie
Yeah.
that you could strip the dialogue and you're going to get like 90% of what's going on by facial, over the top facial expressions. And of course the constant action. Not to say that there isn't really great writing, but it's just that it's done in such a way that unnecessary.
Well, really. I feel, I mean, that's how I was kind of watching the opening credits, right? Where, you know, definitely taking in Toy Story in a different way, but I think for really a greater appreciation for how the opening credits functions as this sort of world building, you know, execution, right? And not just that, but it's also kind of proving out the fact that this animation style works in a very different way from the 2D stuff, right? The way that it's moving, the way that you're just sort of going and tracking, the sort of handheld motion style, right? It's like fully dimensional in a lot of regards. It's just, I don't really think you see a lot of opening credits like that in movies in general, let alone animated films these days. But there's a level of just sort of there's a level of beauty in truly the pairing of the animation and the efficiency, and of course Randy Newman coming in from the very beginning. You Got a Friend in Me, and it feels so familiar. Like, You've Got a Friend in Me, you hear it and it feels like a song that's been around for 1,000 years, right?
Yeah, I was very surprised that he wrote that for this movie. The other songs in this movie, he's almost telling you what's happening in real time during the song. And like, oh, if he wrote this ahead of time, this is weird as shit. But You've Got a Friend in Me, I thought for sure, they found this song and they were like, hey, Randy, want to write a couple more that match?
He wrote it in a day.
Like,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
he wrote it in a day.
That doesn't surprise me. Lyrically, all of these kind of... And then Buzz and Woody go on an adventure. There's a rocket, and you're like, "All right, calm it down, Randy."
Randy, we got 3 days at the studio. Don't worry about it.
To me, those opening credits. Now that you pointed out, because I had a few notes about the opening credits. Really, they serve as almost a demo reel for the movie.
Yes,
in that, like,
and Pixar. It's like a demo reel for the whole business.
The first thing you see are these real janky looking clouds. And then they're like, that's wallpaper, baby. It's wallpaper. Really, like, temper your expectations. Yeah. Like, I'm sitting down and watch a 3D animated film. I'm seeing clouds that don't look at all like clouds. And they're like, it's wallpaper, baby. And I think that was, I've never like watched a documentary on the making of, but I would bet that somebody was like, that's a perfect way to open it. So they were expecting this janky ass bullshit, and we hit them with some real stuff. Like 30 seconds later, but when I saw those clouds initially, because I hadn't seen the opening sequence in I don't know how long, I was like, "Oh, that looks okay." Like, you know what I mean? But then they show the humans for a brief minute, and I'm like, "Oh, that didn't age well." But whatever. The first thing, I don't know how many times in your life you've opened a 3D program like Blender or Maya or any of these.
Occasionally.
But like the first thing that you do in a 3D program when you hit a button is it makes a ball. It's like the first thing. And it's always plastic looking. And that was, by and large, that was the hardest thing for 3D to get over, is the plastic look.
Right.
The hardest thing in 3D is roughness and texture. Because what 3D wants to do is just take up light, just, bounce light off shit. And so doing like a Jurassic Park or something like that, anything where it's rough and it has to look real is exceedingly difficult to do. And Pixar, specifically with John Lasseter's short film Tin Toy, was like, look, what if we just leaned into it, man? It takes us way less time to render a shiny ball and shiny plastic toys than anything else. So if we just lead into the shiny plastic toy thing, I think we got a movie here. And yeah,
which is that's the seed of Buzz Lightyear, right? That's sort of where from the lore, what have you, Tin Toy and that character is sort of the genesis for a lot of things for Buzz Lightyear. I think the thing about Light is fascinating because one of the things I noted here was about the scene where all the toys are on the windowsill and the sunlight is coming through, and it looks gorgeous, right? And you're just sitting there thinking in 1995, holy shit, you guys have the sun just lingering, captured on these toys in a way that feels so real, right? And it's an incredible stuff. I think the other thing that I was really curious about, because I had remembered hearing about it, is the sort of existential crisis of Pixar with Toy Story and the infamous Black Friday screening with Ratzenberger and essentially where it was like, oh, you guys wrote Woody to be a real asshole. Like, there's definitely some times where Woody gets a little bit, persnickety, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can see the tension.
There's a word we don't use
real.
enough of these days. Persnickety. I always like that word.
It's good. It's very accurate. It's very, very, straight.
Yeah,
to the point.
It was interesting to me to look to find out that this doesn't surprise me too much, but initially hearing, it was Disney that went to Pixar and said, "Hey,
right.
throw in some shit for the adults. We need some adult jokes. We need some adult themes. Have them talk like adults.
Make it feel."
And
they
were like, "No, we're making stuff for kids." And Disney's like,
"It's a G-rated." There are some things in this G-rated movie where I was like, "Yo, wow, y'all are throwing some
and
real
all of those
heaters,
things
right?"
Are Sid scenes.
Not even.
We're gonna talk about Sid.
No, there's definitely some Bo Peep stuff where it feels like fair. The Cohen stuff comes in there.
They were the ones that said, "Hey, we need to put more adult stuff in. It has to be fun for everybody." And the Pixar team clearly went like, "All right." And then they screened what's now infamously called the Black Friday incident.
Yeah,
which is like Woody intentionally pushes Buzz into the bush.
This
and
man is a menace, bro. Woody's like, "Yeah, I can. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell."
Yeah, very much so. And after that, it was one of those, "Oh, what have we done?"
They said, "Shut this bitch down,"
which is totally fair, because it's like, this is an outside thing. You don't know the Disney mythos. You don't have all the novels of books that Disney's animators have used for years to craft the story. You got none of that. You're just like, make a kids movie, I guess. And they're like, make it darker, make it more adult. And they're like, all right, somebody's gonna die.
The other thing about this
and
is,
you gotta overcorrect for that. And so it's I can't imagine that balance beam, as it were.
But I guess the other thing that was fascinating is that I can't remember who it was on the Disney side. Turns to Lasseter and basically is like, "You seriously fucking listen to us? You took you fucking listen to me. You're supposed to push back. It's a thing. That's what we do. I tell you to gussy it up, make it, a little bit edgy. You say, go fuck off. Hey, we find a balance. You don't got a guy pushing a guy out a fucking window and going around smirking around it saying, yeah, I fucking murdered this guy. What are you doing, man? What the fuck are you doing?" What?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So then they had to redo a bunch of lines. Like, half the movie basically got remade after that infamous cut.
Right.
And you can catch like storyboards and voiceovers and stuff on YouTube where they're like, you can get kind of and you're like, oh boy, that would have been a very, very different movie.
Yeah. Well, look, I think to me there's some stuff like the visual gag where after the right did and found out that Woody, he out here feeling about Buzz or whatever, and then you got Potato Head and Etch-a-Sketch and Woody looking across the room, and they got the noose and the gallows, you know what I mean? And they just showed him, like, that's dark as fuck for a G-rated movie. Maybe it's just me. Like, if you said PG, I'd say, fine, son. That's where the parental guidance comes in. Dad, why they out here with the news towards Woody? Let me tell you something, son. We got a long history. You know about Jim Crow? Not yet, all right? You're 7 years old. We're going to knock them stars out.
I mean, obviously, Disney's got some people on the inside of the MPAA.
Sure,
greasing them
I'm just saying, there are definitely,
like, Disney can get away with certain shit that if Pixar had done this El Solo,
you Pixar by yourself. That's fair. All I'm saying is, there's definitely, upon the retro spectacles of it all, there's some things where I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, the GPG distinction seems very fine with some of those things. Or I'm like, if you put the PG stamp, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just a little shocked at some of the stuff that was allowed to be G-rated at 95. It was a different time, but it is very.
I refer back to our episode on Small Soldiers.
That's it. I was thinking about the whole time. Yeah, Burger King. I was thinking, like, what the fuck did you do, man?
Well, I distinctly recall in that episode that I said, now, if you're a parent of a child in the 90s, first of all, not really. Like, you're not really a parent. You don't really. You got other shit going on.
The latchkey, yes.
And this is like, this is kind of the tail end of that. If you were a new parent towards the late 90s, you were a very different parent than if you had been a parent at the time the 90s happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
As somebody who went to high school in the 90s, and we were all just miscreants, just doing our own. We had our own society. No, we didn't. It was like parents didn't exist.
I mean, I also had forgotten about Joss Whedon's involvement in Toy Story. Yeah. Which
I didn't realize that until I watched the credits.
That's why. Yeah, again, it was one of those things where, like, you're growing up and then you're a Whedon and it comes up in a profile or whatever. But it was like truly, again, one of those things where really digging in and being like, oh shit, they turn to you and like Lasseter basically was like, please God, help us with Toy Story. Please, my business is dying. I need you, Josh Whedon. Please, can you help a boy out with a script, please? And there's a lot that he does, right? I think the most, like, maybe one of the most interesting things that he does is sort of like the resuscitation of Buzz Lightyear, right? Like, turns Buzz Lightyear into an actual charming, not really dim-witted idiot, you know what I mean? Like, okay, he's a little dim because he doesn't realize that he's a toy, but now that is sort of reconfigured into this incredible culmination of a moment where the movie and the franchise sort of establishes that a duality of the childlike wonder with imagination versus the emotional heft of Woody yelling, "You're a toy," right?
Yeah.
And then Whedon, I believe, is also responsible for creating Rex in the script and introducing some of the
impeccably played by Wallace Shawn.
Impeccably played. Who I believe was specifically cast for that character. And I think Wallace, he basically was saying, like, yeah, I think they saw me in, like, I can't remember which movies, but he's like, no, we need a guy who just sounds like this. Just kind of gets plugged in there. But I think it's interesting, right? Like, when you look at the amalgamation of writers for Toy Story with Whedon and then Cohen, and what's his name, who escapes me right now, who kind of edged it up on the Disney side of things. I think it's just really fascinating.
Ratzenberger?
Right?
He was no. He was just poking at people.
With the S.
I'm
gonna.
I gotta be honest. I didn't write
Alex
down
Sokolow.
A lot of that.
Alex Sokolow. That's who I'm talking about. But him and Joel Cohen are the ones who come in when Disney's like, hey, why don't you add a little bit of adult sensibility to this thing? And so it's fascinating to see. Yeah. It's fascinating, right? I think when you talk about movies being these massive collaborative entities, right? TV and movies for sure, but I mean, there's always the TV model where a guy can just sort of write his own show and do things and blah, 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 right? We can talk about the Louis version of everybody wanted to do Louis back in the day, but movies really as this massive, massive collaborative entity and seeing just how fragile they are at so many stages, but even more so with an animated thing, right? Where it's like, we have a 3-picture deal with Disney, and they are basically looking at us like some raggedy bitches right now, and we ain't never going to see pictures 2 and 3 if we don't get this shit together.
Now we get to, because I was thinking there was going to be more emphasis placed on the nerd side of this, so why don't we just take the nerd podium here. You cannot overlook the Steve Jobs of it all.
Yeah, we get into the names.
So we start out with, we got George Lucas. He finds this couple of dudes at Stanford fucking around with computers. And he's like, I could use some guys fucking around with computers in my big old LucasArts world.
You know what?
He
I could always use
these
more
motherfuckers. Of. He pulls all those motherfuckers into LucasArts. And then they're just like, oh, well, okay. Well, so what do we do with this? And they just kind of continued on. And then they went to Disney and they were like, look, we made this demo and we made this thing. And Disney was like, yeah, you could help make some commercials for some TV shows for the Disney Channel. Like, no big shit. And then George Lucas has his hand, like, he invested in it, but it was just sucking money because nobody cared about their technology, their software, their hardware, anything else like that. So he starts shopping around. Steve Jobs, recently fired from Apple, man without a home, starts another computer company called Next, which was for supercomputers. And he was like, fuck the consumer. let's just talk about businesses now. Supercomputers. And let's make, $12,000 machines that are, Google was built on a Next cube, by the by, for an example. It was a big old 2-foot cube, 2 foot by 2 foot cube, ugly as sin, ran only its own own software, weird shit. But he got in with the SGI people, and George Lucas was like, hey, do you have any idea what I should do with this Pixar thing? And Steve was like, you could sell it to me. And Lucas was like, I don't want to just sell it. No, I don't want to. And Steve was offering him peanuts, but ultimately George was like, well, I do need, he was going through divorce and shit. He was like, all right, I need a couple of bucks. Steve's like, I got a couple of bucks to spare. He picks it up. And then he's like, all right, guys, make a product, make a machine, make some software. I'm going to sell it. And the Pixar machine that was being sold at the time required you to buy an SGI workstation, which on its own was something like, at the time, $40,000. The whole system together would have today cost you $500,000 for
what that is, 1980, late 80s is what you're talking about? Yeah,
86 through 89. They were trying to sell this $500,000 machine. I mean, at the time it was $280,000, but again, way too much for a computer. Sure. And they were trying to get hospitals to use them for imaging and CAT scans and shit like that. And hospitals like, what do you think, we're made of money? And Steve's like, I don't know. It seemed like you were made. I don't know. Fucking. So then he's the one who reaches out to Disney and is like, hey, how about we do a couple of your animations, and how about this and how about that? He shows them Tin Toy from John Lasseter. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty neat. Can you make a TV show? And they're like, no, that's how many episodes? How quickly do you need it? No, we can't make a TV, but we could do commercials, or we can you know what I mean? And eventually they come together to make essentially the deal where they were like, fine, if you think you can make actual movies, we'll strike the deal, but we want all the characters, much like Nintendo and Disney. Brilliant idea of just look, if it works, we get the characters, because that's where we're going to print money off those characters. Disney owned, the distribution pipeline. So they were like, we can make shitty versions of this all day long for $10 a pop. And parents just need something on the TV for their kids. We know this business. So if you give us a bunch of new characters, fucking done. And apparently the whole the movie, the rights to the characters, et cetera, Steve gave it up for 12.5% off the back end of the tickets.
Yep.
Which he was like, by the way, about to send Pixar to the dustbin. Was trying to sell it to Larry Ellison. Thank fuck that never happened.
Let's not get too carried away, because the Ellison name will be coming back again as a very instrumental name in one of these you can take people's
it once
futures.
I get to the so essentially, that's what it was. So that was the deal. And when the Black Friday happened, the Black Friday cut, Steve looked at it. Steve was there for that as well, and he was like, well, Like, I need this to work. I'm getting 12.5 on the back end. If this doesn't make fucking stupid amounts of money,
then
I just threw away cash. Right. So it's like, all right, I will leverage my house to fucking bring Tom Hanks back and bring Tim Allen back, and we'll fucking finish this goddamn movie by hook or by crook.
Meanwhile, Tom Hanks is out here when they out here letting the fucking Cohen, run wild. He getting the script being like, why is Woody an asshole now?
Yeah.
I am Tom Hanks. Do you know who I am? Do you know what I'm doing? I give you the credibility to exist. Animated 3D feature film. I don't need you. You need me. I will say, Lasseter, right? John Lasseter, who is sort of the, one of the brainchild of Pixar in a sense.
The Pixar brain trust. Yeah. He's at the top of that pyramid for sure.
But he, to the story and the timeline that you laid out, right, with sort of Lucasfilm and all that stuff, he gets fired in the mid 80s from Disney because he won't shut the fuck up about doing computer animation. This guy's walking around.
the funniest like background biography, whatever, on John Lasseter, I think it's either in the Toy Story article or John Lasseter's article, was he pitched Tin Toy to Disney, who declined, and then he was fired. It's like one sentence. And you're like, wow, it was that bad of a pitch. I mean, I've had some bad pitches in my time, but no thanks, and also pack up your desk is a fucking
Not only does the pitch suck, but I need you to give me your badge, vacate the premises, and don't even turn around and look back at the building. Get the fuck on.
This place turns to salt if you turn your back.
Get out of here. And then he ends up at Lucasfilms, right, where he starts animating shit, and then the rest is history, kind of to what you described here. But where I think, he on the Pixar side, right, he directed every short on Pixar leading up to Toy Story, which is this feature debut for not just him, but Pixar. It's everyone's fucking debut, right? But he was doing
the
all
first
of that
computer
shit.
Animated feature film. Which
right.
is still
exactly. And one of those gets an Oscar nomination, right? And Tin Toy wins. It's the first animation CG to win an Oscar for short film. So he's fucking, it's all Lasseter, baby. It's Lasseter season. We doing it. And then obviously Toy Story Pixar blows up. He becomes it. And then, this is when we get to the sort of heights of Me Too, is the big sort of article that's about to drop in the Hollywood Reporter, and then he kind of preempts it with his little thing talking about the unwanted hugs, which was very weird, right? I remember that being a thing where you're like, the time that we're talking about, you were like, yo, son, like, all right, we definitely know you're getting ahead of something, but like, what is an unwanted hug, fam? Like, I know what an unwanted hug is for me. That was
like 2017 that this all
2017, right? 2018, that's right. Yeah.
You're jumping way ahead.
I'm talking about. I'm jumping way ahead.
That's fine. Look,
go
ahead.
Okay, where you think?
I'm letting you have. No, I'm letting you have.
Where you want the Lasseter trade to go? Look, we did already establish that Lasseter was, he the Pixar man, right? He was doing it. He did all the Pixar. He let it.
I'm just saying, like it. You were like, and then, and I was like, what? It's not really and then. 18 years.
It is an
and then.
It's fine. It is. Pixar is great. Pixar is great. They're Pixar, right? Mm-hmm. He do Pixar. He out here, but then suddenly, like, I think it was essentially, it was very jarring for a lot of people because I don't even think you were really thinking about someone moving like that in the animation space, right? Like, there was all of that report. The thing that was crazy is that they had at Pixar and Disney Animation, the Hollywood Reporter documented grabbing, kissing, making comments about physical attributes, heavy drinking at company events, and a defensive gesture insiders called the Lasseter used to keep his hands off colleagues' legs. That is how you know you're wilding the fuck out, bro. We naming shit after you as a preemptive defensive gesture. And I think some of this is precipitated because the story is Rashida Jones and Will McCormick leave Toy Story 4, and it's potentially tied to an unwanted advance, which is disputed publicly, but all of this is sort of in the background with Lasseter's exit and Me Too. But the reason I brought him up is that 9 days after that Disney contract expired, who should come a-knocking with Skydance Media but David Ellison.
David Ellison, yeah.
Who said, how would you like to be the head of the studio?
Listen, just want you to know, big fan, don't care how much of a sex pest you are. Have you heard of Oracle? We got sex pest on lock.
This is the son, the prodigal son. Yeah, not prodigal son, I guess. He never left. But he out here and to this day, right? Lasseter still runs Skydance Animation. The deal that I think he signed with them was crazy. They had that movie Luck that was on Apple TV with the cat or whatever. Emma Thompson bounced because of Lasseter's involvement, so the reporting goes. But I think it's crazy because you kind of never really think about the art versus the artist with something like Toy Story, right? R. Kelly, Woody Allen, okay, you know what I'm saying? But Toy Story and Lasseter and Pixar,
it's not like this is not going to be a recurring theme throughout our run as a podcast where it's like, okay, now we got to talk about this fucking awful shit this guy did. But I wonder that's the part I think, and I'm not trying to sound too magnanimous, but when you reach a certain level of success, you're on top of the world, and the only thing that could possibly crumble your empire is if it turned out that you raped everybody. And you're like, well, I'll just hope nobody finds out that I'm out here raping everybody. It just blows my mind. It's like, why would you're risking your everything, your legacy, your job, everything. More importantly, your legacy to me, to be a sex pest. Why? What are you?
Well, I mean, I think there's a sense that
I don't know.
There's a sense of at a certain point, right? I think it's no different if we're talking about and again, this may be a little bit of a leap, so bear with me. But truly, if you're talking about serial killers, predators, things of that nature, right? Once you realize with that first sort of excursion, oh, I get away with this, then there's a sense of like, well, you get a thrill maybe from getting away with it as a part of it. And also there's the knowledge of, can you even stop me? And that's before. Yes, and I would say what makes it even more perverse, right, is in the case of a Lasseter, he's not on the outskirts. He's not in the shadows. He has the machinery of the institutions, that are pillars of all of these things, backing him and enabling him and those types. And so it is almost sort of this, very interesting dichotomy between someone who recognizes the gaps in the system and learns to exploit them for their benefit versus somebody who is within the system, driving the system, and is essentially doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's very much a what you gonna do about it. And it clearly took almost 20 years for anybody to do anything about it. And it's not like he's out on his ass begging for change on the corner. He's just got a different job. I mean, it is a thing fall that far from the heights. Again, the legacy is mostly.
Did he even fall? I mean, he fell. But to your point, if you don't even remember that this happened because we have a cultural memory of Goldfish, did you really fall? Do you know what I mean? Okay, like you don't get to show up on the Pixar Disney lot no more, and you can't really claim the Pixar legacy kind of on the press tour, but like you're still building a brand new animated legacy. You're still launching stuff at Skydance, right? So like what has actually befallen you? And this is where when they talk about there is no real cancel culture for many respects, you can look at a John Lasseter
cancel
to say
the rich is the biggest problem.
It's very tough to cancel. I mean, like, what cancellation did John Lasseter receive? The man got a contract 9 days after his shit expired with Disney from Ellison. The man didn't even have to wait a fortnight. He didn't have to wait a fortnight. So.
Okay, diving into the movie itself. This is now the third movie within R. Lee Ermey cameo.
Okay, thank you. I was sitting here at the moment that I was like, this motherfucker is going to show up in everything we do. This man is in everything. Good Lord.
Second place, Lucy Liu.
Yeah, of
well
course.
deserved.
Shout out. As
but
always.
Irby out here cleaning up, getting all the credits.
Yo, we got to start a retrospects leaderboard of actors and artists and whatnot. We'll do that a little bit later on. We get a little more episodes in the tank. But who knew that the early leader would be Lee Ermey? Who knew? I didn't necessarily. I did not see that coming. I would not have put that on there.
Yeah.
But truly,
yeah, it's interesting. Like I said before, thinking about as I'm watching it, going like, oh yeah, this is the movie you do to introduce 3D animation to the world.
Yeah,
do.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. Well,
I'm saying you do again plastic toys. It's not to take anything away from what they did with everything else and all of the everything about it, really. But as far as like what's the least taxing on these extremely expensive computers and the amount of time it takes to render this shit, plastic toys.
Well, it's the medium is sort of dictating the subject, right? And it's also kind of interesting where you see it pays off with the creative and storytelling choices, with the sense that you don't really see the parents, right? It's usually just legs. It's really only Andy and Sid that we see, and a couple of other folks, I guess, that are occasional flashes. But to your point, that is really sort of, okay, we kind of have to focus the showcase here, right? This is really about accentuating the strengths, hiding the weaknesses. And I don't know if there's a movie that does it better, not just in terms of filmmaking, but for, like we're talking about, an entire animation craft genre medium as we need you to focus on this and not this.
So there's two ways I'm kind of thinking about this. One is by way of analogy. I can already hear the noises you're going to make, but by way of analogy,
I'm letting it go, y'all.
I watched the first Saw movie in theaters at a special screening with the writer-director. And
already
after the movie, we were like allowed to ask them questions. And they had somebody there interviewing them. So it was like the first few questions were the professional ones. And he said, well, what was the, impetus for this? And the director was like, I knew a guy who wanted to finance movies in Australia. They were Australian. He's like, I knew a guy who wanted to finance movies. He offered us $1 million. So if you can make a movie for $1 million, I'll finance it. And we went, I don't know how to do that. And then the writer guy was like, well, we could put it all in one fucking room. And he goes, well, what kind of a movie would happen in one room? And he's like, I don't know, 2 dudes being tortured. And that was where Saw came from. Insofar, only in as much as the Saw story came from the Saw financing of like, I got $1 million. I needed, this is the box that I have to fit everything into. This is the movie we're making. Toy Story, similarly, listen, I want to make an animated feature film. It takes a lot of fucking computer to render anything at all. What's the cheapest thing to render? Plastic toys. I have an idea for a movie. Plastic toys. In as much as those are related.
I am disgusted with myself at the begrudging respect and acknowledgement foisted upon me as I listen to you walk through that analogy.
It works.
I hate how much it works. I hate how applicable it is. I hate having principles. I hate being an ethical hater and not being able to hate on that because yeah.
The other direction similar to that I want to go, and you touched on it a second ago, was you were saying this is not just the debut of this company, of this creative team, but yes, very much of this technology. Similarly, another Steve Jobs joint. Famously, the 2007 iPhone keynote, which to this day, every tech CEO jerks off to weekly watching that. Like that, they're like, this is the high watermark. This is the mountain on the hill.
This is it.
I recalled I was very much an adult. I was 28 years old when 28 years old when I saw that keynote. So I was very much an adult. And I remember the reading around the time that the tech world around that time, it was like, either that's it. This is where we're going. We're done with feature phones. It's all going to be this from here on out. Or it's going to be hilarious how bad this fucking thing flops. There's no two ways. There's no oh yeah, Apple also has a phone. No. It's either going to be this is it, or fucking you fumbled, and
you win the Oscar for 10 toy.
Yeah, that's essentially what Toy Story is. Either you're watching the future of animation in this movie, or Disney took a big swing and whiffed it, and it ate shit. Right. There's no two ways this goes. You don't go, hey, did you ever remember that one movie Disney tried to make? Mm-mm.
Yeah. And I mean, you're talking about, again, by the time the end of that Disney Renaissance run comes through, where back half of it, right, Pocahontas comes out at the same time as Toy Story, and then you've got Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, right? Like, nobody's doing that anymore. Everyone is doing, you've got the Shreks of the world with DreamWorks, right? Like, to your point, animation, children's films are all in this. Ice Age, Happy Feet. Like, nobody is doing anything resembling the Disney golden age, Renaissance, whatever style that you want to call it, hand-drawn 2D. That is passe. That is moot. It's been, obliterated by Pixar.
That was so off their radar that I'm sure one day we'll discuss it in greater detail, but The Emperor's New Groove, one of my favorite Disney animated films, was so not on the goddamn, not a priority for Disney that the final script for the movie was written after the movie came out.
At the premiere, where they're like
so
they
didn't know or care what was going on with that movie. They're like, we're focused on these like large rendering projects. You want to draw some shit and tell David Spade to make some, snarky jokes? Knock yourselves out. We got Pixar to deal with.
Go for it.
And I don't think you'd get that in, 1991 prior to this. You know what I mean?
No, you're definitely not getting that when you're in the middle of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and The Lion King back to back.
The tentpole gold standard, 90s, late 80s, early 90s Disney films that were printing cash.
Right. Like I think the most
period, really
of that's what I'm saying. The Disney Renaissance, and really I think the most forgotten movie in the Renaissance is probably Rescuers Down Under, right? Like, of all of the 10 titles that you're starting with, The Little Mermaid in 89, wrapping up with Tarzan in 99, that's the one that probably gets no traction except for the most Disney diehards. Don't get mad at me. I'm not saying anything about the movie. If you out there right now get agitated, I'm nearly documenting the fucking reality right now. Real stand down moment to the Rescuers Down Under hive, because I know y'all out there mishearing.
And you know who came in to help clutch with the Rescuers Down Under?
Who's that?
A little team at Lucasfilm that would go on to be known as Pixar. So we're bringing it all back. Yeah, again, that was the team. That's how Disney started. Like, that's how they got on the Disney radar, was Rescuers Down Under.
The other thing that I think that stands out to me about Toy Story, and especially in comparison to other animated films now, right, is the depth and charm that the cast of supporting characters, being character actors, not marquee names like Hanks and Tim Allen, who are still giving incredible performances, right? But there is just truly an amazing cast here in a way that I don't think you get anymore with modern animated movies, because they're so top heavy on just names, and you're not really getting the sort of quirky, eccentric people. You're not getting these voices that have those little idiosyncrasies, right? You're not getting even, right? Like, to me, I think what's incredible is that you get fucking Don Rickles at almost 70 years old as Mr. Potato Head in what kind of becomes like his big cultural breakout moment in many respects, right? Like you got Toy Story and then you're in Casino at the same time. They're like, wow, Rickles, how do you feel about it? And there's this quote that he says, someone said to me that these two movies were a good career move. What career? I'm 69 years old. My only career is staying alive. Anything else is a bonus at this point, which is vintage Rickles, right?
Yeah. And also I think that the only reason you'd have known it was Rickles without reading the credits, and I have to, I'm sure, again, it's in a documentary or something like that, the brief moment, he goes, quiet hockey puck, which is like one of his lines he would use on stage all the time, calling people hockey pucks. Yeah. And then they show a hockey puck. And I'm like, that was clearly somebody read that. Was the Easter egg. That was the Easter egg. Yeah. And they were like, we'll find the adults in the room with this one line.
Right. Yeah. With this. Like, I think outside of the very sort of Rickles Easter egg, I think when Potato Head, goes to ham, it's like, you uncultured swine. And it's perfect vintage Rickles, but it works well, right, with this sort of edged up G-rated movie as one of those lines that, as an adult, you can appreciate being like, oh, okay, this movie's pretty funny. They got Rickles in here. And a kid, you have no idea what that means, right? But you just know it's funny. People around you are laughing at that. The adults are laughing a little bit too hard, right? They get a little bit too mad if you say it to somebody. It's just one of those things that we talk about in a kid's movie where it feels like these movies get incredibly sanitized this day and age. And I think that is what is surprising to me about the G rating, where they're like, fuck it, let it rip. Right? Like, right. You look at a G-rated movie today and it would be, I can't even imagine how milquetoast it is compared to, all right, maybe not.
I guess we're going to find out with Toy Story 5.
We're going to find out. Is it going to be G-rated? We'll see.
I mean, I don't really pay attention to ratings, to be fair. But have the rest of them been G as well?
I don't know. We'll have to look that up and see. Thinking about some of the more recent ones, like I'm thinking of even like a Frozen, right? Like Frozen has a solid cast, but it's Kristen Bell and it's Josh Gad, right? It's Idina Menzel. Like those are all very top heavy marquee names, right? Like you're not getting the sort of cornucopia of talent, if you will, that you get.
You're not
in this
getting
movie.
Jim Varney. I
knew that you was about to bring up Ernest. I knew that we was bringing up Ernest.
Jim Havern.
Yeah.
Havern, Ernest. Jim Varney as Slinky Dog. Not leaning into his earnest voice. Is just regular Jim Varney. Just a dude. Really,
which I think
doing a great job, but it doesn't. Great. You're not going, hey, that sounds like Ernest.
That sounds like Ernest. But I think that's part of it is looking into the cast of the voice cast and the supporting characters. Right, I had not realized that Varney was trained in Shakespearean acting and was desperate to just escape. Desperate to escape the Ernest persona.
That story, that story, you hear that story a million different. It's like I remember there was a documentary maybe 20 years ago that was all about Ron Jeremy wants to be taken seriously as an actor, and I was like, buddy, give it up. And so you gotta love Jim Varney was like, fuck it, I'm gonna be on screen one way or another.
I'm doing it. I mean, you got Rickles, you got Varney, you got Wallace Shawn, right? I think obviously we've touched on him before, but Ratzenberger, who we would be remiss if we're talking Pixar, and the guy who was in 22 consecutive Pixar movies over the course of 25 years, from Toy Story was the start, and his last one was Onward in 2020. Right, but this is, he's in everything, right? He's in A Bug's Life, he's in Monsters Inc., he's in Finding Nemo, he's in The Incredibles. He's in
that
Cars.
voice is made.
It's right. This. Yeah, it's tailor made for this. It's tailor made for animation, so much so that why do we think that your man Ratzenberger is no longer in the Pixar camp, son? Do you have any inclinations as to what happened for a voice?
Oh, no.
A voice tailor-made for animation. Has it left the arena?
It's not going to be a happy story, is it?
You know that he left with his last role was Onward in 2020, right? So we talking about the pandemic. You know your man.
Did he lose his voice?
No.
Lasseter
signed that contract. Lasseter signed that contract when, right? He signed that contract straight up.
So he went with
9
Lasseter.
days. And that's a Lasseter man, son. That's a Lasseter man. Lasseter signed that contract at the beginning of January 2019. Ratzenberger said, I owe y'all one more. There it is. And he ain't been in a Pixar movie since. But you know whose movies he has been in, though.
I see. Okay.
He has been in both Luck and Spellbound.
Okay.
Now he did come back. He came back. He came back to Inside Out 2.
And he's sad a story as the other
it's
two
not bad.
options.
He will be in Toy Story 5.
That doesn't surprise me.
He definitely answered the call when his man was like, yo, I got this Ellison check. Are you free right now?
Listen, I'm a back up the Brinks truck. Are you coming?
They being real generous with the ducats over here at the Skydance Animation Studio. Are you ready to get it? I will say lastly, lastly, one more. We got Bo Peep. We got Annie Potts as Bo Peep. Before it is Designing Women, son. My final point here though, right? Because I think like you've got somebody who in the sort of TV space, and Laurie Metcalf, who like is not on screen, but she was fucking killing it. She's Roseanne. She's winning Emmys, all this stuff. You got this, again, Annie Potts is winning, Emmys for Designing Women as well. But nowadays in these voice casts, right, it's all big names. You just had 2 for Toy Story. Now you look at the cast and it's like, yo, you got 10, 12, 15 major names, right? All of these guys, you need some guys who aren't major names. You need some people who are mid-card names that deliver the goods. And then if it's not 15 big names, you always got a random musician in there, right? Why is Bono in my fucking animated movie? No disrespect. You heard me. I was talking about discotheque in the last episode, okay? Y'all heard. Y'all know how I feel. I was out here going to bat for the edge. The man on the other side of the screen was being disrespectful.
Heard that. I'm still editing that episode.
You've heard it at some point. Past, present, or future, you understand where I'm coming from.
There's a through line of YouTube.
The fact remains. The fact remains. Stop putting all the top level marquee talent in the animated features. All right. Let some
they're all doing the TV shows for Netflix, and I appreciate when I'm watching one of the good animated shows that they have, and oh shit, that's Paul F. Tompkins. Oh, I can hear Patton Oswalt in this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Characters that you don't. I mean, I realized Patton Oswalt was the rat in Ratatouille, but even still, most of them. You have to know that voice already to
right.
They're not you're not selling the Bojack on the strength that Paul F. Tompkins plays Mr. Peanut Butter.
No, but you need a more a diversified voice cast. I beg of thee, my kingdom. When y'all release Sing 3, when y'all put Inside Out 3 together, please mix some shit up, all right?
I'll do a voice. Teddy will do a voice. We'll work cheap.
And if nothing else, y'all better bring the ethos that Donald Glover brought to the Yoshi for the Super Mario Brothers Galaxy movie, where that man said, I could do a traditional Yoshi. They said, hey, man, you want me? He came to them. He said, I know y'all doing Yoshi, baby. What it going to be Yoshi, huh? And they said, hey, man, we just going to do a regular-ass Yoshi. It could be real traditional. I could do traditional. He Yoshi in every voice, in every country, in every dialect, son. And he said in the press tour, the thing that I was most proud about was the fact when the trailer dropped, they were like, oh, good, they didn't get some famous asshole to be Yoshi. Yes, great, good. That's what I need more of. Bring that Donald Glover Yoshi energy to your voice acting. All right, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out if it's not that.
All right, let's dive into the movie a bit. one of my
is that just the recurring bit in this? It's 3 hours of us being like, let's get into the movie. This is a 4.5 hour fucking episode about it. What did I know? We got to get into the movie.
So I one of my first notes about the substance of the film, and it was like 10 notes in, was that at first, and again, I wouldn't say I saw this with fresh eyes, but the freshest, because watching it, like, this is the only thing. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not at a bar. It's not on in some background while I'm trying to talk to the parents.
I love that is good context. You got to know, this is me really locked into Toy Story right now. I'm not on my phone. I'm not at a bar. No pub crawl.
There was a good 10-year period there that if you wanted to bang a mom, you were doing it to Toy Story. Randy Newman songs in the background. It's just
or Cars, one of the other.
Yeah. Like if you were banging a mom, there was some Pixar on the screen.
Responsible parenting.
Yeah,
that's what we love. So, we love to see it.
So when we first meet Sid, and they're like, they're trying to be like, oh, he's the bad kid, and he puts a firecracker on an army guy. I was like, I mean, whatever. Like, who didn't do that? When you're clearly your parents are never fucking around. He didn't seem that bad.
Very different experiences
until he gets home from the arcade and he takes his sister's toy, which is already mean enough. Then he brings upstairs. The first thing is put his fucking head in the vice grip. And then he's like, I'm a mad surgeon. I'm going to tear its head off and replace it with pterodactyl. And that's when I was like, oh, this kid is fucked up.
Yeah, now you're coming around to my side of the ledger. All right, because we had this dude
like, if you're an adult, you're like I'm kind of into weird art. Making weird art as an adult, cool. But if you're a kid and you're acting like he's playing out a mad surgeon, he thinks he's combining life forms. And like you're doing it, like that kid needs, and also he's got like industrial locks at his door. The kid is fucked up.
Now I'll say this. Go ahead, please finish. And a brief
note, because I had to. I feel like I don't know if this is lost in the shuffle. It was not lost on me that when Woody's in the milk crate, behind it, it says the improvised interrogation handbook, an official Army training manual. A, why do you have that? Like, is that what your dad does for a living?
Yeah.
And you found it in his books? Or,
it's 95, son. You got a physical.
Because clearly, like, Sid knows how to order shit online.
Yeah, he
already in 1995.
He moving real dirty.
So, like, did he order that training manual on early day eBay, or did he swipe it from dad? But also, why does that kid have that book? Sid,
he got it.
Fucked up.
Now, maybe it's because we started watching Mindhunter recently, but I was on Sid's ass from jump, son. I was out here. I was like, yo, no.
Just saying the firecracker on the toy soldier, you were already like, this fucking kid is going to Rikers
gonna fool me. Absolutely
in a few years.
Yeah, we go like, I look, my notes increasingly around Sid saying things like, I'm trying to say it's 95, right? So, I'm trying to, again, timeline-wise.
A docket on Sid.
Yeah, we got a real dossier on this kid, okay? Look, this guy's definitely on some, like, something awful forums for sure. Sid, I think, definitely on the 4chan shit, like the worst version of those. He's on the worst subreddits. He definitely should be on some watch lists, for sure. You can age out of it, maybe, but Sid's got to be tracked. I also wanted to say, because I was thinking about this while watching it, right? I think Sid is a testament to the fact that imagination in a child is not inherently positive, right?
Teddy's coming for America's kids on this one.
We encourage the youth to think big, to dream, to be creative, get in that sandbox play, big brain, imagination, and we should not lose that. However, we should be mindful that it is not inherently positive and that there are Sids out there using imagination for ill and not good And that's just something that was very stark.
Sid has access to way too much tooling, machinery, and books that I don't think Sid should have access to.
100%. Sid, you're saying, like,
and there's a reason. There's a reason we never see or hear. We hear him yell for his mom twice, but we never see or hear mom or dad. There's a reason for that.
Sid is he's a testament to creative destruction, right? Again, imagination in a child's film usually presented as something great, wonderful, grand, encouraging, just very fascinating to see it through that lens of this boy must be stopped immediately. And I know they be saying, and we're going to get to it, right? I don't know if we want to spoil the fan theory around how Sid ends up in the future of the series. Have you heard it? Do you know what they be saying about Sid?
I wait till we get into the future of the series.
I'm just going to say, the streets be saying that Sid is not done, right, in an explicit way. But in my Toy Story universe, hey, young blood, why don't you come to the vice principal's office and have a conversation with me here? Can you tell me about your home life? Are your parents involved?
No, they're not.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying about Sid. It's just very fascinating to see.
Yeah, like I thought
terrible people get to have an imagination
too. The introduction to Sid with the firecracker on the back of the army guy. I was like, I can see how toys would think that's horrifying. Whatever, kids are gonna do that. Probably he should be fucking around with firecrackers, but I was probably doing that at the age. No big deal. But then when they show his fucking lab, I was like, okay, now hold on here.
Yeah.
There is clearly not a parent who has gone into that room. Hence the 5 bolt locks, swinging latches and shit locks that he's got on his door. That's got to be a metal door for as much noise as that kid's making. Now, and he's also allowed to do his own shopping and order himself giant rockets.
I love how you keep coming back. I love how you keep coming back to the shopping for this kid. This kid is out of control. He's Frankensteining all these creatures. He's also got an eBay account, and he's got a P.O. box.
In 1995, that kid ordering his own shit on God knows what.
I know you know the type. I know you was on Usenet with these kids.
BBSs and shit. How is that kid getting a hold of those things?
Now that said,
keep an eye on that boy.
The coda that he faces from the toys, incredibly deserving, right? But I gotta say, I'm not being sympathetic to this child. A sentence that I hope does not haunt me. However, I do think that would fuck you up immeasurably to have the toys come to life and materialize out of the mud and the sandbox and march against you in an existential way, right? We are at least agreed that happening to Sid in the Toy Story universe is a life-altering moment, right? He was on trajectory one.
One hopes.
It has to be. There's no way he can continue on the same trajectory. He has to go to 2 other trajectories. Either the one that he stays on becomes corrupted and becomes its own extra dark trajectory, or he goes over here, right? It reminds me of this story from high school in Spanish class, and I was young, man. I was freshman, sophomore year, and this dude who was a teacher, he's kind of a jerk. Besides the point, he had a mustache that really made him look very dubious, and I don't know if he was, but it's one of those things where you're not doing yourself a favor. You good? That was like that. But there was a guy. He was sort of, he'd come in, he'd be kind of causing a ruckus. I mean, he wasn't necessarily paying attention and stuff. He came in late one day, and he sat down, and I don't know what was going on in this man's life, but this was his breaking point. And he proceeded to just, let off a barrage on this dude for what felt like 5 minutes. But in front of the class, he shut it down. And he said, "You see this guy right here?" And he started looking at him and goes, "You're a fucking loser. You are a loser. You will never be anything. You will amount to nothing." And just, boy, I mean, when I tell you best time to kick a man when he's down, Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA. He just beat. He is on this dude's ass. You will amount to nothing. You're a loser. You're a disgrace. You put no effort into life. You waste your time, blah, 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 blah. And then we had to keep having class. He's still sitting there. He's sitting there. And I remember talking with people after class. I was like, there's no way this guy's life there's no way it continues the same. He either takes this moment in and is like, I got to double down. And every day I wake up, I'm spiting this man for the rest of my motherfucking life. I will be there at his funeral. I came to my hater's funeral just to make sure I will dead.
Pay for his funeral. And it won't cost me diddly shit because I'll have so much money I won't even notice it.
You know what I'm saying? Real Count of Monte Cristo shit. Or like any fucking constructive, any North Star that I had in my life that I was holding on to, the hardship, the trials and tribulations, I'm done. I'm out. I am what he says I am. I was trying so hard. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about with this moment with Sid, son. The toy said, you a loser, bitch. Grow up. You telling me Sid not haunted for the rest of his life every day? He can't tell his parents because they're not there. They're not involved.
Yeah, I do.
His dad don't give a fuck about therapy.
There's the private trauma of no one's going to believe this story, right?
Yeah, right. He has nowhere to go with that.
There's the very public trauma of what you're referring to, of like everybody watched. Now, I'm guessing you haven't kept tabs on that.
Contextualize that. I have no idea.
Absolutely
not. Absolutely not.
You don't? Do you remember anything like how he reacted afterwards? Like in the
honestly,
days
it was a real shell shock. I can't tell you, man. I want to say like he still came to class. I can't remember, right? But it was definitely like I vividly remember that day where he just like unloaded, invective on this dude, man. And it was just like, wow. Like I feel like you definitely teacher. Everybody has everybody has bad days, right? Yeah, bad days. Teachers, especially in Texas, for sure. But that was tough. That was a tough day.
Yeah.
Probably can't do that.
Yes, in that regard. Well, I mean, that is. I don't know what you do with that, either one of those, but certainly in Sid's case, you could talk about that with a therapist in 30 years, but they're still gonna be like, okay, he's got delusions. There's toys.
They're gonna think you're crazy. You gotta harbor that forever, and then just that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Sid.
So you're saying Sid either straightens up and goes, okay, I'll play with toys, I'll leave them intact, or Sid is like, oh, I was right about you, motherfuckers. I'm doubling down.
yeah, he doubles down, right? Sid either straight and narrow. I mean, I guess there's a lot of different ways to go, straight and narrow, or he just becomes a paranoid, haunted freak who then continues to try to out with the toys because every single thing he comes across, he's yelling at it to talk again. Talk again! Say something to me! Look at me!
What combination of torture devices do I need to use on this
to get these guys
collection of toys before they will finally...
That's what I'm saying. He can't hold down a relationship. He can't hold down a friendship. He can't hold down a job. Sid out here destitute. He Charlie from It's Always Sunny with the map and the string and the conspiracy theory. That's what I'm saying. Or the other Sid is at least, you know what I'm saying? They like, hey man, your sister said that you was doing some weird shit when you were a kid. Nah, we don't talk about that time period. Hey, you guys want some pizza? Because he's having a nice little, you know what I'm saying?
He doesn't have, I mean, it's very clear that Sid neither has or has need for friends. He's got it figured out. Like
he plays with a lot of toys. Good. He has a very active imagination. I wouldn't say need for. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he don't have them. But
I'm saying that in his own wants and needs when he wakes up in the morning, where I wish I had a friend is not one of his first 10 thoughts.
Oh, Randy Newman's not playing. You got a friend in it. What does the Randy Newman soundtrack for Sid look like? That is some Wario Waluigi ass music.
By the way, Randy Newman was real quiet during all the Sid scenes. He's got a song about everything else going on, but he's got nothing to do with Sid.
I just want to say, now that we talk about Randy Newman, the Strange Things track where Andy is playing with Buzz and he out here saying kick rocks, Woody. To me, that's a perfect example of what we were talking about before, where the juxtaposition of the song is real upbeat, it's real snazzy tempo, right? But the lyrics are so dark, so hello darkness, my old friend. The things that Randy Newman out here saying, I had power, I was respected, but not anymore. And then strange things.
I just wrote down entirely too much Randy Newman. He must have given them a package deal. And I do think that's probably part of the budgeting thing. They were like, look, he agreed to do one song. You think we could get him to do 3? Maybe we buy one get two free kind of
you
situation.
Get one Randy,
buy two,
you get all the Randys.
Hey, Randy, it's a really great song you wrote. You got any more in you? Hey, man, how many you need?
Look, I think to me, I think what's there's so much in Toy Story, but I think truly the thing we haven't maybe touched on a lot of is the, I think what's interesting with movies like Shrek that come out a little bit later is they really sort of perfect that sort of inside-outside duality of kids movie, parents, general audience movie, right? Like there are some things and some zingers that are just definitely not for you in person under the age of 20, even really, right? But some stuff that is meant to play very much so to different fences. And I think there's some stuff in Toy Story just besides some specific lines, right? But the overall, I think, approach to the movie of this childlike thing and toys, but something that is so incredibly profound in that transition to growing up, even though we necessarily don't really get that in this Toy Story, right? But the franchise starts to move into that. It's a little just bit more of, oh no, I'm being replaced and, what should I do? But I think when you see the gravity of Woody and Buzz and the way the toy not a toy thing builds up to this huge payoff, right? And jumping ahead now 30 years later where we have Disney adults as a category that is driving most of the revenue for the theme parks in attendance and all these things, right? It is just sort of an interesting, franchise from the sense of the people involved talking about that scene at the gas station with Woody just sort of yelling, "You are a toy," right? And the entire push-pull between having to grow up an adult and childlike wonder and stars being knocked out of your eyes. There's truly not a lot of coming-of-age movies. Because Toy Story is a lot of things. It's also a showcase for a whole technological apparatus and evolution. But it is also this truly wondrous coming-of-age movie, right? Where you do have to grow up and you have to share and you have to learn and things are different. And then you kind of feel like the franchise as it evolves really figures out like, oh, that's kind of, we have to really drill down deep into this. But that balance of kid and adult, I think, is fascinating to see, especially when you've got, the Mr. Potato Head saying, "I'm from Play School," and then T-Rex saying, "I'm from Mattel. Well, actually, I'm from a subsidiary that was from Bobo," right? There's a lot of that stuff that's just really, like, what kids don't know nothing about that. No. There's also that line from Woody where, it's one of my favorites, right? Where he says, "I can't say that because there are preschool toys present." Which is just it's such amazing self-awareness for the movie. And I think a marker for the things that are charming and endearing about the Toy Story franchise to this day. And also why this movie holds up all of these years later, because it does have the self-awareness and the heart and the charm that so many other animated films don't, right? Like, I thought Luck was okay. I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely, one of the better offerings from them, but I think it was still missing some of that overall warmth and charm and winking and nodding that you get with Toy Story, right? With some of the things like you're talking about, or when, Bo Peep is talking about needing somebody else to watch the sheep tonight, and you're like, this is a G movie, you know what I mean? Like, I would expect that from Shrek, but not from you, Toy Story. I wouldn't expect that smut from you.
Listen, they're just talking about watching the sheep. She's a sheep. She watches sheep. Little Bo Peep got all them sheep. That's all we're saying. They're going to take a walk around the bedroom, while Andy's asleep, and get into some plastic fucking in a corner.
The other thing about Toy Story that I thought a lot about with the G rating, right, is that it is reminiscent of another one of my favorite Disney films that I do feel is a bit underappreciated. So maybe we'll get the retrospects treatment one day. But it is released the following year in 96. It's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? Like, that is a fantastic film but also G-rated and also incredibly dark. Now, again, your boy was out here reading...
Amongst the darkest of the Disney movies, for sure.
Yeah, amongst the darkest of, definitely amongst the Renaissance films, for sure. But I do think
it does not surprise me that it did not do well.
Necessarily
banger tracks in that one.
Yeah, I mean it did all right. Topsy Turvy is still one of the greats. But that movie, that soundtrack is phenomenal, right? And so I think this is a time period where you're looking at these films and you're just thinking about the things and how kids and the world and culture are presented to them as compared to now, right? And I do think there's that sanitation piece. The other thing that I wanted to discuss, shifting gears, that I was thinking a lot about on the timing side of this, right, in 95, is clearly Toy Story sort of an ode to a youth of a different time now, especially even for us kind of growing up. We're very much so in that space, but it's a pretty transitional time because 95 is really when you're starting to get consoles taking off in the United States, right? Like, it is sort of interesting to see Toy Story in the backdrop of the PlayStation launching and Sega Saturn launching, like more mainstream video games, because it doesn't necessarily come across in the franchise, but what kids are playing and how they are operating is definitely beginning to shift in parallel with the Toy Story franchise and talking about toys. And now it's kind of interesting, right? Toy Story 5 is a tablet, but there is this other sort of, universe adjacent to Toy Story where you are looking at what is going on in the actual aisles of stores and even things like the Nintendo 64.
Is this leading up to a Wreck-It Ralph rant?
This is not leading up to a Wreck-It Ralph rant. This is merely saying that I think it's kind of an interesting parallel that in the way that we were talking about the 3D technology that Lasseter gets fired from Disney for not fucking shutting up about, right?
You had done so bad you're fired.
That Steve Jobs is out here investing in, George Lucas is out here saying, I need some money for it, right? This thing that's all kind of bouncing around. And I think Lasseter was involved with Tron or whatever, wasn't he too?
No, he wasn't involved so much as he was like around and they showed it to him and he's like, this is incredible.
This is it, right? Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
Yeah, that's what gave him the fever. But right, in the way that you're talking about the Disney Renaissance and Disney sort of pulling itself out of dire straits and this 2D animation style and being displaced by Pixar and then DreamWorks, right, with things like Toy Story and then Shrek, you also have the toys within Toy Story, that specific kind of childhood and disposition being displaced by video games and consoles over the same time period as the Toy Story franchise is kind of documenting a different sort of childlike nostalgia letting go of those toys, right? It's just kind of interesting to me because video games don't necessarily, I think, factor into Toy Story as hyper explicitly as they are with 5 with a tablet, but you're talking about some of the most formative cultural...
I haven't watched, I haven't even seen a poster for Toy Story 5. I'm going...
Let me tell y'all something right now. Let me tell y'all something right now about this man and trailers, okay?
I did not know that there was a trailer out for Toy Story 5, honestly.
It's been out for months! I got this man to go see Project Hail Mary at the theaters, and by the way, he enjoyed it. And this man stopped the trailer.
Movie of the year.
Like what, 30 seconds in? Yeah, you're welcome. He stopped the trailer 30 seconds in because he's like, I can't see anymore now. But he hadn't seen it. I said Project Hail Mary. He said, what you talking about? He didn't know. Retrospect.
I saw Ryan Gosling all over everything, and I was like, he must be in some new movie.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And then you were like, do you want to go see Project Hail Mary? And I was like, what the fuck is that? And you were like, it's the new Gosling joint. And I was like, oh, that's why I've been seeing his face everywhere. And then I watched the trailer, and it started to make the music, and I was like, oh, now it's spoilers.
I gotta shut it down.
And I'm like,
I gotta shut it down. That said, my timeline as I put together, because you know how I do here, right? So PlayStation in North America, 10 weeks before Toy Story releases, it drops, right? In September. by the end of 95 is moving units like Toy Story was. So we talk about Toy Story ended up as the number 3 movie of the year, right? PlayStation, 800,000 units sold in the U.S., bro. Sony out here just turning the money machine. It can't even be turned off. And then a few months earlier, the Sega Saturn gets a stealth launch. Okay, it's ahead of schedule. It sells 400,000 units through the end of 95. The Nintendo 64 prototype gets unveiled in November of 95, literally days before Toy Story comes out. All right, you're talking about a pretty seismic shift in how kids play, how imagination is activated, right? What a toy is. And it's just very interesting to kind of do the analogy in the same way that you walked me through your Saw analogy. Toy Story is sort of documenting in some ways, right? It's a little bit behind the curve of what it's showcasing as the child letting go of toy phenomena ages up. Because how many of those people are playing video games, right? Like it took us how many years to get to a tablet?
The toys in Toy Story would have been way more recognizable to the adults watching the film than the kids.
To the Gen X and the boomers, right. As opposed to the kids
dog
who
had
were,
not been a toy since 1973. So like the adults would have remembered Slinky Dog.
I remember the G.I. Joe toys. I had a fucking basket full of G.I. Joes. Watch your mouth about the kids. I too was a child.
Army men.
Army men. I had them all.
They did want to get G.I. Joe. They did want to get G.I. Joe. And they wanted to get Barbie. Mattel was like, you could suck a dick. We're not giving you our characters.
Yeah, no. And then Toy Story 2, they were like, yeah. I guess
and I'm guessing the moment Disney, got involved, that's when Mattel was like, you're working with who?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
If you were just an independent film, little upstart Pixar, you might have been able to get away. But like, they're like, Disney's involved?
No.
No.
You made how much on the first one?
Yeah, like the moment Disney's involved, Mattel's got to be like, no, I know how they deal with IP. Right.
Right.
Not touching our G.I. Joes. That'll be the end of us.
Yeah. So like, I was 10. I was 10 when Toy Story came out.
Yeah. So to the point of video games in that regard, you had a generation going into adulthood who had grown up playing video games, maybe a little in their teenage years, but definitely as kids, and that were now making adult money, and video games were starting to appeal to older
casual consumer.
18 and above. And I don't mean porn. I just mean like more violence. There was curse words. There was your GTAs, whatever have you. But adults, young adults who had their own money now. And video games kind of grew with them. And, I recall, in my first, my late teens, early 20s, every apartment that I went to, there was some video game console or other. Most of the time a PlayStation 2, whatever. Everybody had a console in their apartment. It was not, it was just like a thing that, and to this day, that's still largely the case. Everybody's got one. And whereas it was very much this is for kids thing. Right. But those kids grew up, and I think that's what happened with as far as video games, where it became more mainstream, is because you raised them on video games, and now they're adults and they got money to spend, and like, where's my video game money gonna go? And they're like, here's some stuff for your video game money.
Like the irony of playing the Toy Story game on PlayStation while you're like, you don't have your own Woody to play with in your own actual room, because I'd rather play with the actual video game Woody, right? It's fascinating to kind of think about as a moment. But that said, I guess let's keep the trailer out of your face for the next month or so that you can go into this thing as blind as possible.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Easy peasy. He's in the hole. He's locked in. And you haven't seen 4, so you probably don't even know what 3 is. Do you even know what the trilogy? You know anything about that button's up? You don't know nothing. Do you even remember 2? We got to walk all the way down. Actually, watch 1.
When I watch 2, I think I'm going to watch 2 and go, oh, see, I thought this was 1. Like, there's probably going to be quite a bit in 2.
I thought I was watching Toy Story 0 when I watched Toy Story.
Yeah. This comes back to, despite the 7-year gap, so much change in those 7 years, where it's like you were 10, I was 17. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, sure.
And I wasn't going to go see Toy Story at 17. It wasn't on my radar. Nobody I knew was going to.
You weren't going to the edgy G-rated movie at 17?
I saw Hunchback of Notre Dame by happenstance because I worked at the movie theater at the time.
In fairness, I don't know if movies were ever on your cultural radar, even when you worked at the movie theater, because you had no Toy Story on your cultural radar. You still don't have
my
Project
cultural
Hail Mary
radar.
on
It just
your
wasn't.
cultural radar. You weren't going to see it. You weren't going to see
Toy
it.
Story was on my cultural radar as far as I knew it existed, and obviously throughout these years, I'm saying
unlike Project Hail Mary,
that there's certain things there are certain things that are a big deal to somebody not even that much younger than me that would not have been something that I would have engaged with. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you.
I don't know. I could not. I have not.
It's like
watched,
when they be talking about iCarly, and I'm like, hey man, I don't know.
I have not watched a single minute of a Despicable anything.
Oh, we gonna do Minions. I promise y'all right now, we gonna do Minions. I would say the other thing we would be remiss if we did not highlight is the truly impeccable pairing of actors at their apex in the 90s in Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, right? Yeah. I think part of what
Say what you will about Tim Allen. I'll pause for you to say what you will. Take all the time to say, but he's got a fantastic voice and an incredible comedic timing and presence.
He's the perfect guy to. Honestly, it's fascinating because his Buzz Lightyear is very kind of subdued, right? In comparison to what you're thinking of for Tim Allen in the cultural landscape at that time. Obviously, Home Improvement, where he's multiple seasons in, he's winning, he's getting Emmy nominations. I think he won a Golden Globe at some point or whatever. But that Home Improvement, right, it's a little bit over the top, even with the signature, you know what I mean? There's a lot of pulled back to the performance of Buzz Lightyear from Tim Allen, especially in comparison to Tom Hanks and Woody, and being a little bit more animated and energetic and dynamic, and the culmination of you are a toy, right? And it's truly, I think, even on the back half of this, you start to get more of those Disney things like Jungle to Jungle, right? Which I can never forget with him. The Jungle to Jungle, the Tim Allen movie where he gets the Jonathan Taylor Thomas plays like a kid from a tribe who ends up in his. I'm just out here. When you going through these episodes, any movie that produces that reaction from you has to go in the queue for the show. I'm so sorry. It doesn't mean that we're going to automatically watch it, but that's a new rule that has just been established. If I drop a cultural gem in the middle of the episode, and Mitch.
Now, when you say cultural gem, I feel like you're putting a lot of shine on a bad apple.
Oh, you think I'm putting a lot of shine on Jungle to Jungle? We talking about JTT at his peak, son. Maybe this wasn't JTT.
Don't pitch me. Don't even.
Maybe this was another one. I'm thinking of a different one.
I've never heard of that in my life. I've never heard those words put together in that.
You never heard of Jungle to Jungle?
Never heard of that in my life. There's no world in which that's a cultural touchstone gem of any kind.
Okay, I might be confusing.
I think you're putting a little shine on a bad apple.
I'm going to put a little shine on it. Look, the point is,
I'm familiar with the Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, sure. I feel like there was a different. Movies. I might be mixing Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Tim Allen Disney films together here, but Jungle to Jungle was definitely a Tim Allen joint, where some kid ends up being his son, potentially illegitimate son, but he's from a tribe, and it's he's from the jungle to the concrete jungle of New York. Thus, that's the Jungle to Jungle, right? And he is out here dressed like he from Pocahontas or whatever. It's crazy, son. That said, he's giving you very big, over the top, goofy movies. Even Santa Claus is a very big, over the top.
Oh yeah, very much
franchise,
he's over
right?
the top.
And so I think it's noteworthy to me that Buzz Lightyear has a bit of sort of subduedness to it. And then your man Tom Hanks, right? And for the record, we will still be watching That Thing You Do one day. A movie that Mitch, you see the eye rolls over there. He's a bona fide hater. You see how many movies I keep naming that this man is just out here bona fide hating against. Tom Hanks, I think Tom
Hanks is America.
Tom Hanks is America, and is Tom Hanks is America, and Tom Hanks is America leading up to Toy Story on maybe what is, again, like we're talking about Pixar betting the farm.
I got nothing. I got no Tom Hanks hate in my heart. I assure you. Tom Hanks Tom Hanks has been delighting me since I was a wee little child. I still like Splash.
Look, the thing about Tom Hanks in this era that I find personally, I think, gratifying is he's a guy who's sort of finally getting to do what he wants to do in Hollywood, right? Like he's sort of cut his teeth. He did the TV stuff. He did his movies. Now he's sort of being like, I can take on the roles and do the things that I want to do. Look at the 2-year run your man had leading up to Toy Story. Sleepless in Seattle, classic, right? Philadelphia, Best Actor, killing it with Denzel, right? Follows that up with Forrest Gump. Second consecutive Best Actor, and the first person to do it since Spencer Tracy in 37 and 38, son. Imagine being Tom Hanks. Nobody done that since the golden age. Nobody. Not Brando. Nobody, son. What a feat. And then you follow that up with Apollo 13 and Toy Story, launching Pixar and a beloved franchise. Yeah, man, that sounds like a guy who is fucking America.
He's America. Tom Hanks is America.
It also sounds like a guy who you probably shouldn't make his character sound like a fucking jerk.
So his interviews are like, man, that motherfucker is an asshole.
Yeah. You ask Tom Hanks about the early Woody, and he's like acerbic, shitty, terrible, bad father, no manners. He out here, you know. I mean, you gotta have a Woody that goes through the arc so that when Bo Peep hit him with the smooches and he show up at the end, face full of lipstick, completely looking like Mitch at the Gore show. That's the last time I saw somebody look like that. Now, you want to know the last time I saw someone look that blissed out? It's Woody and it's Mitch. You gotta, it reminds me of Tom Hanks and Mel Gibson, respectively, with their characters in Toy Story and Payback, where Mel was like, hey, this guy can't just be an unredeeming, unrelenting piece of shit.
I very much drew a through line when I was reading Tom Hanks's reaction to early Woody, and like, hold on, I have some thoughts. I was like, this is very much shades of Mel Gibson and Payback being like, yo, let's pump the brakes on him being a completely irredeemable piece of shit.
Can I get a joke off every now and then?
Yeah.
Can I
have to be likable in some way?
Do I have to be so smug about dropping this dude out of the building?
To root for, goddamn.
Yeah. Do I have to be that smug about it? I don't think I need to. No. Yeah. So I think it's incredible. I think, again, to the point of all of these animated films now overcrowding the billing, right? Like, you look at some of these over the last 10 years, and it's just, I come back to the Sing franchise because, I feel like people don't even know that it exists. I'm pretty sure they're going to make a third one, but everybody's in that, right? And you're just sort of like,
the which franchise?
There's Sing, the movie Sing, about the animals that do, you know, the talent. They be singing. It's like it's like one of them. It's like a Zootopia style thing, and they all be singing. They be trying to sing. I've said it 7 times. It's like a musical, but they got theatrical aspirations and stuff, and you know, it's Zootopia meets Fame.
The last time that I remember going like, I know this movie's a piece of shit because all I hear about is everybody in the movie was the Shark's Tale.
Hey, whoa!
They were like, here's the 20 people that we picked for this movie. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a piece of shit.
It's a piece of shit.
I guarantee it's a piece of shit.
Shark Tale, piece of shit is aggressive. I do think that we do need to go back to retrospectacles.
It's a top
for Shark Tale.
Top two star out of 5.
Okay, Mitch. We have several movies that we need to add to the queue. Shark Tale is among them. You're telling me you don't want to go back to the movie that features Will Smith, De Niro, Renee Zellweger, Angelina Jolie,
that's how we're pronouncing
Jack Black. I only pronounced it that way
I know,
because of the Chappelle Show sketch. Just to clarify, I do know that it is
Renee Zellweger.
Who is Renee Zellweger? Scorsese's in Shark Tale. Are we really going to shortchange Shark Tale?
Yeah, we're going to Shark.
It got nominated for Best Animated Feature. Why you hate
not against
Shark
a
Tale?
Pixar? Not in a Pixar year.
It was always a Pixar year. 2004, man.
I don't know what was out in 2004. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Top of my head, no.
No, couldn't tell.
Let's see. Let's put it up. Let's put it up.
But it's like there's only 5 of them a year, so it's.
Well, it was The Incredibles. They lost The Incredibles.
Okay, of course, yeah.
And Shrek 2,
an actual good movie, and another good movie.
Yeah. Well, you said it was not a Pixar year, and yet.
No, I mean,
this is when Pixar was.
I'm saying like there's only going to be X amount of animated films per year. It's kind of like it bothers me to no end that the category is comedy or musical, and it's like fuck you. It's always going to be a musical. If you put out the one musical of the year, it's going to win it. Put comedy in its own category, you fucking cowards. Anyway, not so much in conclusion, but we really haven't touched on this at all. I am genuinely curious. You were 10 when this came out. Do you remember how your first exposure to it? Were you like, fuck yeah? Or were you like, huh?
I remember we watched it. I'm pretty sure I think we went and saw it in theaters. And I definitely remember liking Toy Story and enjoying it. I don't know if it was like the preeminent.
You were like,
Disney
we got to
film
go to
for
the
me.
store and get the T-shirt and the toys and the.
Yeah, like I mean, we probably had some Toy Story gear because that was just the move. But like, I remember distinctly, and surprise, surprise, coming out in '96, right? But like that Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like there was some stuff in there where I remember as a child being like, hell yeah, this is why I'm reading Les Mis too. You know what I mean? Like that was a period for me. Like your boy was really Victor Hugo. Shout out, baby. You was really doing it. But like that would have been the shit that really resonated with me on the Disney spectrum, right? It was very good timing for them to be like, this shit is dark. And it's like, excuse me, Mr. Disney. There's one child out here that was really so like I remember definitely fucking with Toy Story for sure. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it, and I think I was definitely a fan, but I probably gravitated to other Disney fare during that time period on VHS.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But I was
how often would you say you rewatch the original Toy Story? When was the last time you watched it prior to this?
My wife and I did like a Pixar watch a while ago. It was like a few years back. Maybe it was around the pandemic or something. So it's been a while since that happened. But I remember Toy Story 4 came out. I think it was probably around Toy Story 4. Now that I'm thinking about it, because it was during the pandemic, that is probably the last time that we watched all of them. So I don't think I've watched Toy Story 4 since. So it's probably gonna almost be like for the first time. I kind of remember it. It's kind of sad, but also it's like, all right, we had a trilogy, and now it's like a new trilogy. So you didn't even know it existed. We different realms. You know what I'm saying?
Again, you know, missed me with that. You know,
you missed you with the childhood nostalgia, youth. Growing up,
it wasn't my childhood nostalgia. You know what I mean?
What would have been your Toy Story? Would it have been like the Goonies, Willow?
Well,
Never-ending Story.
Goonies wasn't a franchise. You know what I mean?
You don't have a franchise. Never-ending Story.
I mean, I had Star Wars, but even that
Land Before Time.
Star Wars ended in '84.
No, it's gotta be like a children's franchise. We're not talking about Star Wars. We're talking about Land Before Time.
I mean, I'm familiar with Land Before Time. I remember seeing that.
That definitely is not for you.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, Muppet movies in various iterations.
Okay, so the Muppets, you just claiming the
Muppets
Muppets were your Toy Story.
Yeah, strong Muppet love. I don't know. Like my dad was, very. He influenced a lot of what I watched or what we watched as a family or whatever. When we go out to the movies night, he would try to drag us all into like some gore heavy horror movie. And, I think it was when we went to see The Fly.
See Splatterhouse 6.
We went to see The Fly, and my sister and mom walked out the moment he broke that dude's arm and the bone came out, and they were like, well, we're out. And I recall that after that, when my dad would pitch a movie, my mom would be like, well, Meredith and I are going to go see something else. And they were just getting ahead of it, like just in case, you know what I mean?
I'm just going to take the fact that your recommendation is bad.
Yeah. So like I saw movies that probably were not, definitely weren't appropriate for my age, but like Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, Friday the 13th, Halloween.
Oh, so literally every horror movie that you probably were not supposed to see.
Yeah. And
got it.
Yeah, Goodfellas, Casino.
And Scorsese. Okay, got it.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of those movies that like
The Mob and horror. That's basically
everything. Mob and horror. My dad would take me to see those, and so those were that's largely where my interests. Like that's where I went.
I like how a question of what was your Toy Story ends with, well, I watched a lot of Mob and horror films.
Because that's the thing is I'm trying to think. Like there really wasn't franchising was not a thing. Oh, Pee-wee to some degree, Pee-wee, but there was two of those.
Sure.
The Chucky. No, I guess that's horror. I mean, if you think about it, franchises,
Homeward Bound. Did you watch Homeward Bound?
Franchises were thin on the ground from like 85 to like 95.
It was one, and then it was straight to DVD for a lot of stuff, right? Or if it was like a real franchise.
Yeah, so I'm saying they were thin on the ground. They weren't like today where it's like one movie does well, let's do 6 of them. That wasn't a thing. I mean, you can look at
not good ones. We just crank them out to the bargain bin, maybe.
Yeah. But I'm saying even in general, even I wouldn't have known probably about the direct-to-video stuff because I wasn't really we weren't a direct-to-video family,
Right.
The Disney Store didn't become a thing until I was like in my teenage years. So there wouldn't have been a direct to video to go to, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So yeah, that's where I'm struggling is because that really wasn't, they didn't make franchises back then. Like it was really rare that you got a trilogy of it. Back to the Future, that was a trilogy. Indiana Jones was a trilogy, blah, blah, but they were few and far between. Back to the Future, very much I was into that until the third one. You know what I mean? I got 2 Batman movies. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like there wasn't 4 of anything. My God.
I mean, they had Beethoven's. There were plenty of children's franchises.
Now,
you just did not watch it. Every franchise I've told you to give me a child's franchise, you have responded with something for teenagers, general audiences, and adults.
Yeah. Well, again, they did. There wasn't. Try to find me a franchise that I didn't already name, Back to the Future and Indiana Jones and Star Wars, that existed from like 1983 to like 1995. That wasn't direct to video. I think you'd be struggling to find a one that isn't a horror movie, but there wasn't for kids. There wasn't non-direct to video. Where would that be? That's what I'm getting at. Which is interesting to think about.
I mean, okay, that's an interesting
There were 2
question.
Gremlins. There were, it's like, again, there weren't really franchises,
Okay, you said Karate Kid.
I didn't, but that I'll grant that. Yeah,
so?
I did. There were 3 of those. Yeah, okay.
Honey,
I
Shrunk the Kids.
I liked those.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I watched the shit out of that.
I gave you Land Before Time because they were like 15 of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, but they were all direct to video.
Okay, but they existed.
Now the Beethovens is interesting because the first Beethoven, I remember it came out. I was a teenager. I went to see it with my mom because we had a Saint Bernard growing up, and he's like legendary status in our family. So we went and saw the Beethoven, and then my mom bought a descendant of the second Beethoven, and she ended up having Saint Bernards the rest of her life, like literally until the day she died. all of them descendants of one of the Beethovens. So like, she watched the shit out of those movies, but I didn't watch them. I mean, I watched the first one.
But you won't give a Beethoven. Okay. All right. So there's really nothing. I gave you Never-Ending Story.
You didn't give me that one. You didn't mention that one at all.
I did mention it.
No, just now you did. Just now when you.
I mentioned Never-Ending Story. Go back and run the tape.
I love the first one. I haven't seen any of the others.
I feel like you would have been. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you were. It was 1990.
I don't know if they took a while to come out, but they weren't.
90 and 94. The original was in 84. So that might have.
There you go. That 6-year gap is doing a lot of
that
work.
Hurts.
So that's me at 6 and me at like 13. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
all right.
It's a very.
So you just might have been. Unfortunately, it truly might be Star Wars is the thing for you.
Yeah,
or
and it was largely forgotten. Is the other thing that's funny to me is that, like, Star Wars is really cool to me, and I enjoyed the shit out of it, etc., etc. But it was fucking thin on the ground for most of my life. Because like when I'd go to a store that had collectibles and shit, like a Spencer's Gifts or something like that, it was Star Trek was 90%. And then you had like 3 or 4 Star Wars things, and it was Darth Vader and a lightsaber, and like that was it. There was no Star Wars shit for most of my life until 1999, and all of a sudden, and that's why, like, I own all this Star Wars shit. Is because people since 1999, every birthday or Christmas, have been buying me Star Wars shit. I don't buy any of it.
I'm so sorry that I
just
am
like,
a part of that.
I don't.
Problem for you.
I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying it's funny to me because it's like, I would have loved this shit when I was a kid, but they didn't make it. You couldn't get Star Wars shit when I was a kid. After Return of the Jedi. I mean, you know.
My other suggestion for you, final one, Police Academy franchise. Now, not necessarily for children. Not for children. No,
but I definitely watched the first like 3 or 4 of those. Naked Guns would go into that camp as well.
All right. So we found a little bit of, I can't believe that the Police Academy franchise is your Toy Story. What a sentence. What a journey.
Now, hold on. I would, if you want to go with like, I really dug it and I made sure to watch every single one, Naked Gun was way more in that.
All right. We'll give you
camp.
That.
And again, I recall distinctly, for example, I remember at the end of Back to the Future, it said it will return or coming, you know, something like that. Get ready for Back to the Future. There was some kind of teaser at the end of the Back to the Future. And my mom, I remember, had the soundtrack on cassette tape, and it was like all we ever heard in her car. And I remember one time somebody broke into her car and stole all of her tapes, but she had lent the Back to the Future soundtrack to a friend. And so she was really happy that they gave it back. She was like, finally, I got my... So I guess cassette tapes cost a fucking car payment back then. Like she was... I mean, I remember being very excited about that. And thinking about it now, I'm like, you could have just bought... It's not like they stopped making them. But I distinctly recall driving around with my mom one time listening to that soundtrack. And I said, do you think they'll ever make that second one? She goes, oh, who knows, honey? Sometimes they say that. And I mean, I was like, and I remember being a little bit crushed that the movies had lied to me.
That's what movies do.
And yet, when you look at the, I don't know what the timeline is, but when you look at the timeline, I think it was only like 3 years, but they were working on 2 and 3 at the same time. I didn't know that as a kid. But they made those 2 at the same time. But I think it was like only like a 3 or 4 year gap. But as a kid, holy shit. Yeah. It was like,
no trade sheet.
I was like, back then I was barely walking. Now look at me, backflips and shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, there were certain things I was very much into, but the franchises were not a common thing. That's really what it comes down to. Coming to it again, any new thoughts? Anything you were like, oh, I'd never really noticed that before, or I appreciate this more than I ever did, or anything like that?
I think it's probably the stakes of the animation and the leap, right, of sort of where Toy Story sits in sort of the Disney of it all and the traditional animation, the 2D versus everything that sort of comes before it, almost like sort of before Pixar, after Pixar. So I think certainly having an awareness of it, right, and understanding Pixar's importance, but truly understanding within that how pivotal Toy Story was in so many ways for everything that we see in the animation space, kids space, and just sort of even with Disney, right? And so many different people who have a level of prominence in that space, all kind of intersecting in lots of different ways, from Lucas to Steve Jobs to Lasseter to all those types of folks, right? What about yourself?
I mean, it was basically fresh for me, as far as close as fresh can get, and it was. I distinctly recall. As I recall, it was like 2 days ago. I distinctly the feeling that kept coming up is they really put a lot into this. Like they really were like, look, we got one shot at this. It's either going through the roof or it's going straight into hell. And let's give it its best chance at being something really great. There was nobody phoned it in. It wasn't like, I guess we'll try. It was like, no. Let's fucking this is a real thing. We're really gonna try on this. And it oozes that. Everybody was doing their best. And I absolutely see why it's an enduring classic. I see why the critics were like, fucking way to go. You know what I mean? Like every part of it, like, okay, yeah, man, I get it. Absolutely. Way to go, guys. I don't know that we needed 5 of them, but I get it.
We're getting them. You're getting them. Now, I'm very excited to continue this Toy Story cultural journey with you and see, especially as you sort of take in the aging up process of the franchise, where that sits with you and how you feel about youth nostalgia looking back.
I'm happy to do it. I feel like it wasn't made clear anywhere in this episode, or maybe in this whole series. So in the history of this podcast thus far, I'm actually quite a big Pixar fan.
I think there were drips and drabs that came through, but it's not the worst thing.
Like I probably didn't make that clear, that like I hold Pixar in quite a high esteem. I love a lot of their work. Some of them hit really hard for me, and some just aren't really for me. But I don't really besmirch them. And I have a lot of love in my heart for Pixar as a studio and the team and things like that.
That's why we're going to keep
despite
having you,
them never actually being made for somebody of any age I'm at.
Hey, now I wouldn't be that crazy. Inside Out definitely was made for a lot of people beyond just sort of the child. And I will say one of my favorite Pixar movies is Soul. As we've talked about this, that is not a movie for children. That movie was definitely made for you at whatever age of life you are. That is definitely not below 18. Not even for, if you can't legally rent a car, Soul is not for you.
Soul is, if you had somebody close to you die, then you're of the age to watch Soul.
And yet, will you really appreciate it? You could watch it and you could understand, but will it hit you in your bones? No, it's not going to do that. Okay, no. It's not.
I would argue, kind of to some degree, Up is like that too.
Up is very much so like that for sure. And I will say, Luca, very underappreciated Pixar fan. Luca and Turning Red, very, I think, underappreciated tandem from Pixar in the more recent entries that they've had there. I'm assuming you're not familiar with Elio. Hoppers was good.
I haven't seen Hoppers either.
Enjoyed Hoppers. Hoppers was solid. It was good. Real paint by the numbers, by the books, but it was good. It was solid. It was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind a wacky adventure. I thought not. It was far and away. It should have been a direct-to-video movie, but Finding Dory was fine. I enjoyed it. I had a good laugh riot. Sean and I went to see that, and we laughed our asses off. I don't really care to see it again. It was fine. More of a direct-to-video, but Finding Nemo is way up there. I mean,
now I will say, as part of Mitch revealing his love and affinity for Pixar, We certainly will be looking at Toy Story 2 here soon. But as a parting gift for everyone, please know that when Jillian and I went with Mitch to where did we go? Was it Project Hail Mary? It was a different movie because I think it was before Project Hail Mary. We saw something with it. You know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know
that we saw the trailer for Sheep Detectives, and I said,
"That's right.
No, that's the movie I want to see."
Now we're sitting in the theater, just taking it in. The Sheep Detectives comes on with the trailer. There's a giant cutout at the AMC by us. Which afterwards I posed and sent a picture to Mitch, being like, "Here's your favorite film live and in person." But the trailer comes, and this man sits silent but enwrapped. And then when it's done, just goes, "It looks pretty good. I will see that."
Yeah, I'm gonna see that.
Yeah, not a maybe, but a definitive. I'm going to be checking out the Sheep Detectives.
When does that come out?
If you want to know
want to see that
this man is not bullshitting you about a nice, whimsical, fun, good-hearted time. Don't let the piercings and the mohawk fool you. This man loves a good Sheep Detective whimsical romp.
I'm looking forward to seeing in its entirety Toy Story 2. I'm looking forward to seeing all of them, honestly. So, this is going to be a fun little romp. I'm not looking forward to a franchise deep dive on, let's say, the Despicables and the Minions.
I think it's the Minions. Despicable Me. And you came up with a whole new franchise called the Despicables. Ain't no movies about them. Yeah. We shall continue Mitch's whimsical, childlike wonder into the next.
Yes. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time.